If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I have a really gnarly kidney stone right now, and it is just dropped out of my kidney into my bladder, I think. So I'm waiting for it to get to my urethra. So I have a small window before I go back into being into insane pain. I am in pain right now, but not as bad as it was. I would describe this as like kind of having a rolled ankle in my kidney, whereas before it felt like I had like 6 broken femurs in my kidney. This is number 47, I think, give or take a few. Here is a kidney stone that I have passed before. This is the biggest one I've ever passed without surgery. Judging by the size, I should have had surgery for it. But yeah, that came out of me before. And this right here is the most pain I've ever been in my entire life. This one right here that I'm dealing with, even in my kidney, is a close second. So we'll see. It's definitely smaller. The one I have right now is 5 millimeters. I don't know what that is. The year's not over. It's like the last month. So I imagine a bunch of very intense video parts are going to drop in the last month. That seems to be tradition for people trying to get Skater of the Year. And I'm not saying like, oh, I've already made my selection and I don't care who drops what. This is Skater of the Year. But like, honestly, this is my prediction, not just based on like my own preference. I think Pedro deserves it, but I think Pedro is like the most thrasher skater, as silly as that sounds, to like have a shot at winning it. So like a good example is when it was Dennis Buznitz versus, I mean, it wasn't just down to these two, but the year that Davey Gonzalez won, still, I mean, I've talked about it in a couple of videos, so annoyed by the fact that he won with some really gnarly 50-50s when Buznitz, like, one Tampa Pro, had that really epic match about the barracks and dropped 2 incredible video parts. I mean, he just should have won that year. It's just, but I don't think he's thrasher enough, as silly as that sounds. And you could argue, well, Salas Baxter-Neal won, and that was a really big oddball one. I think that winner surprised most people. Also, because I think Salas Baxter-Neal didn't even have last part in the video that he won Skater of the Year for, which is kind of a unique thing. I could be wrong, though. Maybe he did have last part. But yeah, I think Pedro represents everything that Thrasher, like, kind of marketed. Not saying that Thrasher doesn't, like, dabble with every type of skating, but, like for the same reasons that I think Milton Martinez won is going to be, like, the same reason that I think Pedro is going to win. Also, Pedro is, like, rad. Like, the couple times that I've met him, he's always been a complete sweetheart. And I've been to a lot of these spots. I know about a lot of these tricks, and they're, like, pretty ridiculous. And if he wins, it will probably be the first time in a long time that I fully agree. Not that he won yet. I'm already like, well, if they pick the guy that I want to win, I fully agree with who wins. But I do think that he's going to end up winning. Okay, the first clip right here, like, this is sort of like what the coolest thing you could do in skateboarding for a very long time was. Like, going for these, like, very, very gnarly, super high risk type clips. I mean, I'm actually probably going to blur that because it's that gnarly. I'd probably get demonetized. That, like, this part starts off with something I can't even put in the video. This gap to lip slide, like, that thing's not even skatable. Like, that gap to lip slide is literally not even possible. If you went there and ollied next to the rail, like, with the right height to get into a trick, that's usable for a video part, I swear. That thing's bonkers. Looking at that, is that the same one that Leo did gap to back lip? I don't know, but it kind of looks like that one, right? Like, how much airtime he had into that ollie, like the way the board like floats on his feet, mind-boggling. That might be one of the gnarliest ollies into a bank ever done. Like, you get a slam on a manual trick that you can use in a part, that's when you know. Think there's Bronsons in there, or do you think you set up the ceramics for that clip? Actually, when you're going that fast, I feel like the last thing you want is really good bearings. I love this line. Like, the roll on 5-0 to the land, and then, like, the back 180 a loading dock. And then, yeah, and then the switch flip. Everything about that line was just amazing. He's one of those guys who, even though he can do, like, quote-unquote hard skateboard tricks, because I've seen him just skate at Chevy Chase. He's, like, really, really good at skating. He can film a part with, like, ollies and ride-on grinds to where, not that the whole part is that, but he can use those clips in this part to where even people who are, like, ride-on grind haters, they got to be like, oh yeah, that was like completely buck. Like, that was incredible. One of the few skaters who I think can pull that off. Like, that manual, like, bash to 50-50 was just so sick. But then he'll, like, yeah, backsmith like an 11 stair rail, then ollie that right after. Oh, I love this clip too. What a spot. Like, what a spot. In New York City, it looks like something in New York. That was bonkers. Like, I don't know if you've ever skated a spot like that where you go down a big bank and you know that there's like a wall at the end. Not to mention you have to ride through water before you get to the wall. I mean, it'd be hard. Like when you watch footage, you don't think about thinking about this, but when you're there, there's no way that you're not thinking, okay, if I go through the water that fast and I fishtail, I'm going to slip out and smash my face on this wall. Like there's so much fear involved into like hucking something like that I feel like doesn't really get appreciated unless like you're someone who's like dabbled with a sort of spot like that. I've skated a couple of spots where they kind of run into walls down big banks, which is kind of oddly a kind of a common layout on the East Coast. I don't know why all of our ditches run into walls, but you like monster kink rail in a line and then a big old front 180. Just bonkers. Like after that fall, you should be done. Yeah, his facial expression is correct. But now, yeah, it just takes it fatty to flatty. That ride-on grind right there is probably going to be the least impressive trick in the entire video part, and that was still pretty sick. I imagine when you go to that spot too, it's way gnarlier, because when you're on the ride-on grind, it looks like, yeah, if you jump off too early, especially because it's a fat thing, and you cross-lock, like, to either side, whether you fall towards the bike or fall in the hole right there, like, you're bummed. Yeah, it was awesome. Oh, yeah, and you got to jump off to the side because there's a fence at the bottom. Most people would have just taken the drop. They wouldn't have actually snapped an ollie off of that. Like, little things like that, man. I'm such a fucking fan of this guy. 50-50 ollie over blackout. There was the best spot in the entire world for that on the East Coast. It was in Hanover, Pennsylvania. Actually, it was in between Hanover and Westminster. It was a low handicap rail, and it ended at a small street gap. And it was frontside for me. And I could probably do it now, but at the time, I didn't understand, like, sitting on long grinds or whatever. And I remember, like, wanting to take people to go do this 50-50, but also I thought like if I got better at 50-50s, I could do it, and I thought it'd be like a cool trick. And it was probably a little bit smaller of a street gap than that one, and it was a taller rail, so it would make more sense. But I never took anyone to it because I thought for sure I'd eventually get good enough to do it, and then yeah, the spot got torn out, it's gone. How like this rail's not possible, by the way. I need to actually look at this. I just absolutely love that. He just like attacks the biggest up with like a child like. Oh, they didn't bondo the crack. So this crack right here is really shitty. People have like skated over this rail before, and I want to say the one on the other side, someone lip slid. I could be wrong, but I remember looking at this thing, and because I've been to this spot a couple times, and thinking like, oh, I wonder if someone could actually gap to the rail. Just kidding, that shit's brute, and I'm glad someone did, and I'm glad it was him. Tall 50-50, like he has the big pop. And like later in this video part, you'll see he does like one of my favorite tricks that came out all year that I don't know if a lot of people are going to appreciate how incredible it is, but it comes up towards the end. Got the old Tyson Peterson clip in there real quick. Kudos to the filmer for going that fast and like looking backwards like that. Front nose to fakie 50-50. What a cool spot. That's insane. Like, I don't know if you've ever like tried to ollie onto a rail that slanted up. I can't imagine like going that fast and then gapping that far and then putting your body weight, like not pussyfooting to pop over, but like actually enough to like, because he's fully on top of it when he gets on. Like he's leaning to the inside, which is where you need to do it if you want to grind any distance. I wonder if he was planning to go off the end. Regardless, it's like so raw. Yeah, there's the slam that I would expect. Even the filmer got hurt. What? Let me see. I know there's a delicious frame in there. Hold on, where is it? Oh my god! Like worst case scenario, just flatlining back in. Was that a nollie board slide? What a crazy spot that was. That's definitely not on the West Coast. Just like front feebling, big rails. I don't think I've ever even seen him do a front feeble. Like, there's a bunch of skaters who could probably front lip or front 5-0 that, especially like lip slide skaters. But they're not going to do it that fast. And like, there are certain skaters who can make these lesser cool tricks just look so raw and insane. This rail is super sick. I bet that they saw the flowers at this place, and that was their motivation. Like, someone has to skate it because it's just too pretty of a rail. Cross-locking square, and he pinches it deep right there. Bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. I can't imagine like getting myself to jump on something like that. There it is. It's my favorite clip. So I've done heel flip back 50-50s, and it is exactly like a kickflip front 50-50. It is very uncomfortable. You have to have a lot of control on how you catch your heel flips. I'm pretty sure this is the same ledge that Tosh Town folded his ankle super gnarly on a lip slide in the America video. He was either trying front lip or nose blunt. He was trying something on it and just folded his ankle. Yeah, that was just beautifully done. And like the way he catches the heel flip above the ledge. Oh, yeah, big fan of that. Didn't come unlocked to the 50-50 at all. Let me watch that one more time. Let me double check that I'm correct on that. Yeah. Truck was locked the whole time. A lot of times right before people come out of hubos, it'll slightly unlock at the last second. Yeah, he was fully locked in. You can't hear it, but he clips that guardrail on the way over. And then there's like a hill bomb at the bottom, of course. God, dude, this part is so good. Oh yeah, and at that part right there, like the filmer's like, no, like because he's like skating towards traffic right there. And I feel like with someone like Pedro, when they're like in that zone, they just do gnarly stuff. And I think the fear was like, oh yeah, wait, why does he look so tiny? Why? look how big the cars look. He's so small. Why is that such an illusion? Like, I mean, I get it. The cars are, and with the zoom or whatever, but that just, look at tiny Pedro. Oh, God. That's how he can get away with it. He's actually only 2'4". Oh, my God. That's insane. Anyways, yeah, I could totally be the filmer and be like, oh, God, Pedro, please jump off your board. Oh, God, that was fucking, yeah, that was great. And, like, yeah, he has the ability to sit on a super long Smith grind. Like, he's not, there's the kind of gnarly skaters that I feel like people can kind of shit talk where it's like, yeah, this guy's gnarly, but he's not that good. Whereas, like, Pedro's also really, really good at skating, and then he does the super gnarly stuff. Like, he's not like a Carlos Ruiz type, where it's just like, huck. He can do some shit. That was fucking awesome. Do you think he saw Nigel use that kicker ramp to grind up that rail, and he was like, all right, like, if he can do it, I can do it. I'm just going to find, like, one with a kink on it, and then land deck check on the curb at the bottom. Like, he literally just took the same trick that Nigel did, and he was like, I'm going to do this as thrasher as possible. Also rough ground, probably not on the West Coast. Okay, so it might even be in the video. There's a video where I skate this spot when we were on that New York trip, and I literally talk about, man, someone should gap to grind this. And I saw that it was wax, and I was like, I bet you someone either gap to 50'd it or gap to lipped it. But it also felt, it's one of those things where, like, it was real, but, like, so this grate right here is something to, you feel it, and it kind of dives into this crack. So you'd actually be probably ollieing from the grate or before it. And it seemed like within reach of logic, but it'd be really, really, really insane to actually try. It makes sense that it's, like, Pedro who did it. No, I mean, I guess he had probably like an inch or two to spare. Jesus Christ. Can you imagine clipping on that, though, and having that spike fence right there? Savage. Does he have a pro model shoe for Vans? Someone needs to give this guy a pro model. And, of course, like, ending it with, like, so if you're not familiar with this street, it's like, I don't know if it's the steepest street in the world or America or whatever, but it's definitely one of them. It's Baxter Street, I think is what it's called. It's in LA. I've been to it. And, like, Nuge got, like, an insane amount of, like, hype because he, like, bombed it, and he, like, power slid at the top. I don't know if I've seen, I'm sure people have bombed it without power sliding at the top. I think I saw a GX 1000 clip of, like, two guys bombing it regular together. So for this, the first time I saw it, I was just like, man, maybe he had some vintage Lucky bearings in his wheels and then tightened them down, because to ride down this thing with, like, any speed at the top is mind-melting, but to do it switch is really fucked up. He's not skating slow into that backside flip was the first thing that, like, really stood out to me. Like, he's not crawling and does, like, a backside flip and rides down it. Like, he's riding diagonal, fully backside flips. He's not intentionally getting wheel bite, so a lot of times when people bomb really big hills at first, they'll carve real wide without power sliding, but they'll use their wheels pinching against their board to slow down. He's not doing that. He's just going straight into it. Wait, did he just lift up over that crack? Switch little bonk over this? Yeah, he did, yeah. And so I imagine those cracks in the beginning are your friends, because they take away a little bit of speed, but oh my fucking God. It doesn't, if you've been there, this footage just doesn't look real. It really doesn't. Like, it doesn't even, and, like, I know that I'm not notorious for being able to skate fast, but, like, when it comes to bombing hills, like, I've bombed some hills before. Like, I mean, I'm not saying, like, I can hold my own, but, like, I've ridden down some pretty big hills. I'm not scared of that type of speed. This is like a whole other, like this thing, Baxter from halfway up is, you're getting speed wobbles if you're riding Independence that's not cranked down. Like you really need to have a good understanding of how to get through speed wobbles. I'm going to watch that one more time. It's probably not going to get it, but it absolutely deserves Trick of the Year. It really is hard to like explain how mind-boggling this is, but it's really fucked up. And I can see to someone who hasn't like bombed the type of hills that start getting pretty buck to appreciate this. But like every extra foot on top of like a gnarly hill, like the longer it gets like exponentially gnarlier. And that one's just, yeah, I don't know. The people who know, and they're going to appreciate the shit out of this trick. Hopefully you can too. If not, just take my word for it. I don't know any other skaters who are going to ride down that switch. I mean, there might be skaters who could possibly do it, but not that they would try. Dude literally has a death wish. Yeah, congrats to every bit of success that this guy's had. I really hope that it keeps going for him. I really hope he gets Skater of the Year. Oh, he has a YouTube channel. Link in the description. He has a YouTube channel that he just like kind of dorks around on, and it's like really entertaining to watch. It's kind of cool to see like the style of someone doing a YouTube video who's like in, not only like in the industry and like is a pro skater, but like top level dude. This isn't like some guy who had his moment and he's like trying to like, you know, show what's going on since then. Like this guy's in the moment, top dog. So yeah, go check that out. I'll link that in the description. Yeah, that's my Skater of the Year. Yeah, thanks for watching.